Good morning and welcome back to the Neo Marketing Podcast. Today we're going to talk about 4 areas of business communication: marketing, advertising, public relations, and sales. Welcome to the weekly Neo Marketing Podcast, featuring one half of the Golden Group C-Suite, Kyle Golding, and Pritch Pritchard, APR, PRSA Fellow. All right, good morning everyone. Welcome back to the Neo Marketing Podcast. Today Pritch and I are going to talk about 4 areas of business communication, how that they work together, but they are separate and different in how you have to approach all of them slightly different.
There's a metaphor that M. Booth and Company, a PR firm in New York, is credited with, and I'd just like to share that with you because
I love this way of phrasing this.
I think it does a good job of beginning to differentiate, right? If the circus is coming to town and you paint a sign saying "Circus coming to the fairground Saturday," that's advertising. If you put the sign on the back of an elephant and walking into town, that's promotion. If the elephant walks through the mayor's flower bed, that's publicity. And if you get the mayor to laugh about it, that's public relations. If you did all this on purpose, that's marketing. If the town citizens go to the circus, you show them the entertainment booths, explain how much fun they'll have spending money at the booths, answer their questions, and ultimately they spend a lot of money at the circus, that's sales.
There you go.
So there you go, teeing you up.
Okay, so for everyone who doesn't run a circus, here's how we're going to break it down today, okay? We're going to talk about marketing, then advertising, and then PR, and then ultimately the sales conversation.
Yeah.
Marketing is often, and advertising are often very interchanged, and people say the same thing when they mean the other. Marketing is the work done before advertising happens. Behind the scenes, right? It's your research, it's your positioning, it's your brand identity, creating it, identifying your audience, who you are, what you do, who your audience is, and how you're going to approach them. From that information, you can craft your creative approach, and then when it's time to execute, now you're advertising. The actual execution of your marketing is advertising, or how I like to describe it is standing on the street corner and yelling at people.
Right.
That's advertising, right?
Right.
Not too dissimilar to the circus description. The second half of marketing is measurement, and then going back to the beginning again and adjusting where you started from what you learned from your initial bit of advertising. So marketing and advertising are collaborative and in the same cycle, but they're definitely distinctively different.
To your point about evaluation, at the beginning of the planning process in marketing, public relations, whatever, the research that you do to establish your goals and objectives is what allows you then to come back and measure whether or not you were successful.
You can't just start advertising.
No.
You can't just say, hey guys, we're great, we're awesome, we're going to tell people we're great, we're awesome. Just tell them we're here and they'll come running in droves, right? Well, that's just pissing in the wind, really.
Well, there's too many messages out there today. I mean, people are bombarded by thousands and thousands of messages. So you have to be strategic about how you plan to break through.
So if you've ever heard me speak, ever, on this podcast or in person, in a live event, you heard me say this: everyone is not your client.
Right.
You have to focus and specialize, and the more specific your product or service is, the more you have to specialize. And all these other folks out here are not going to do business with you anyways, can't afford it, don't have access, aren't interested, etc. Right. You have to ignore. So marketing, the process of positioning, doing your SWOT analysis, of doing all of that back work, who you are versus your competition, your competitive analysis, creating a position, from that crafting language and creative execution that comes from position, true position, you got to be honest with yourself and your SWOT. True position allows your advertising to be effective. It'll tell you the tactics, right? The tactics sort of fall out of the marketing.
They absolutely do. Once you have your strategy in place,
right,
the tactics are just the steps that you have to take to realize the strategy.
So once you have your marketing strategy, you're creating your advertising effect, you have it in play, you support it with
public relations.
There you go.
The similarities between marketing and public relations are really pretty dramatic, I guess.
They inform each other.
They do. In the marketing mix, the public relations effort is called earned media. There are some other things that public relations does in the marketing space, brings in new leads, that sort of thing. So in this conversation, we're talking about 2 very symbiotic disciplines.
Marketing creates the ability to, you have your position and then you execute on your advertising. Advertising has a specific audience and has a specific function. It has an ask It has a call to action.
Right.
It does things for you that are specific, typically timely, and on an ROI scale. But PR has a completely different set of parameters to it, right?
Well, in a sense, I mean, public relations also...
Not nearly as specific.
Well, I might argue with that.
Okay.
Because in terms of understanding your audience, you have to understand it fairly well. You have to do the research in order to come up with your goals and objectives. So in that sense, it parallels very much the marketing thing. Where I think the difference is in public relations is interested in the whole relationship, not just with the consumer, but with people who could help the company or deflect the company from its mission, legislators, for example, new legislation. So in that sense, I think the relationship with a stakeholder is more holistic than it is on the marketing side. On the marketing side, you want to sell the product, so your interest is in that consumer. And some of these other ancillary things are important, but not to the true direction of marketing.
PR is a little bit less specific and a more of a general approach and more of a understanding of a company concept and who you are in the community, etc., as opposed to come here, buy this at this date for this price, which is what advertising is.
And I guess maybe a good analogy would be the PR person is the liaison. The liaison between the stakeholders and the organization, speaking on behalf of the stakeholders so the organization can understand, translating what the organization is doing to the stakeholders. So I think in that sense, it is a more broad approach to relationships, as I said. One
of the areas where it gets really gray here is things that are actively very beneficial for people, things like push-pull, pull marketing, right, content marketing, influencer marketing, etc., that aren't specific call to action ask, but are more on the lines of presenting expertise, creating opportunities in a community, and having people pull or find you via other resources as opposed to direct advertising, which is a little bit of marketing, a little bit of advertising, and a little bit of public relations. And then ultimately all this gets wrapped up in, of course, your sales. Marketing can create an opportunity, PR can create goodwill, but if someone comes in the store, they make a phone call, they send an email, they get on your website, a human being has to execute. So that brings us to the sales cycle, right? So we've done the marketing, we've attracted attention, we have a goodwill in the community and a good idea of what our business is all about via our PR. So now a human being is trying to interact with another human being, and this is the sales process. People who think their marketing is going to close the sale are foolish.
Right.
It has to be, right, it has to be a sales process. Where marketing falls apart often is the sales team, the employees, the stakeholders, the people involved with a business don't know them or understand the marketing and the positioning and what a company's trying to accomplish. And a customer, a client, a potential opportunity walks in the front door and they say, hey, I know this about your company because of your advertising, because of your marketing, because of your PR. And the employee, the salesperson goes, I don't know. Right? Or, I don't know, do we do that? So your sales team has to be up to date and in line with all your marketing, language, positioning, etc.
Right.
That is executed via your advertising and supported by your PR.
Everybody from the phone operator to the person on the floor needs to understand what that process is all about.
Don't let it fall apart by the first person that meets the potential client or customer says, I don't know what you're talking about, that's not really what we do, or I don't think that's what we're interested in.
Right.
It just kills the whole process, and all that work you did up to that point is moot.
Yep.
There you go, folks.
It's
an interesting idea, but these are different but similar, and they work in concert together to create opportunities for a business.
Bam, there you go.
Okay, Pritch, bonus question.
All right.
People need to buy things, but they don't want to be sold anything.
Oh, darn right.
If you had a terrible experience with a salesperson.
Yeah, but every time I've walked in to buy a car.
That's typically the answer, right?
Right, and I think it's because I'm trying to do my homework and they're trying to close a sale.
Right.
Well, wait, we left out a few steps in the middle that I want to go through. So the best car buying experience I've ever had is when the salesman says, I'm here to answer your questions, I'm going to leave you alone, let me know what I can do to help you. And then maybe they follow up, but they kind of let you do your thing.
I'm similar in trying to buy furniture.
Right.
You know, I make furniture, and I'm really interested in design, and so I've done my homework. I know what I'm looking for, and I also understand quality levels and materials, etc. Looking for something specific, I need to be just left alone to find it. And buying computer gear. You know, I'm a big tech nerd. I love my Apple products.
Right.
When I go in the Apple store, I already know what I'm looking for. I've already tested the specs. I've already compared them online. I've done all my research. I don't need the Apple expert to tell me what I'm trying to do is not the right avenue, because I'm not just some Joe Schmo who came in who wants an iPad to surf the web.
Right.
I'm really looking for some specific gear for my business.
Sure. And it's okay if you ask.
Yes.
Then I want to hear your expertise, right? To help.
If I walk in and
with
say,
my
I want
info.
XYZ, this thing here with this much memory, and I know it's going to cost me this much money, go in the back and grab
Just
it for
go
me.
get it.
Hey,
That's right.
Just do it.
Just go get
Oh,
it.
man. Hey, there goes the phone. So I thought I'd
I
have
think
my
that's
ringer
our
on.
call, Boomer
So yeah,
Center.
Boomer Soonery. That's a good one for you. We'll wrap this episode up with that. Until next time, good luck.
Ciao.